Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to another exciting episode of Trigger Warning Radio. I am your host, the Kaiju Conservative. Dr. Shiva Ayyadurai is Elizabeth Warren's Republican opponent for the Massachusetts Senate race. Now, Dr. Ayyadurai, he has been pretty much waging a political war against Elizabeth Warren and has been using a lot of the same tactics that leftists use against Republicans. He has been outside of Elizabeth Warren's events frequently. He's been protesting her events, and he has he has actually billed himself as the real Indian fighting the fake Indian. You see, Dr. Ayyadurai is actually an immigrant from India. He was born in Bombay, and and he has, during the course of this campaign, he has essentially purchased an old school bus and draped a sign over it that says essentially only a real Indian can fight the fake Indian, and it's got Dr. Ayyadurai's picture on one side, and next to it it's got a meme of Elizabeth Warren in Indian garb, which is if you haven't seen it, I urge you to Google it. It is actually hilarious. And he's got this thing parked a mile away from Elizabeth Warren's house in Cambridge, which I gotta say, that is some next level trolling. So Dr. Ayyadurai is in the news now, or should be in the news at least, because of an incident that happened outside of an Elizabeth Warren hosted town hall last week. So he was out there Friday, and he was essentially leading a protest against Elizabeth Warren. It was a campaign event, but he was also protesting it, and he had a bullhorn, and he was shouting slogans to the leftists across the street that had attended the event. Well, one of these leftists came over to him, and things got very, very heated, shall we say. I've got the video for you, so why don't we go to the video and see exactly what happened when this leftist confronted Dr. Ayyadurai.
Produce enough engineers, we don't produce enough doctors. What we do is produce a bunch of scumbag lawyer lobbyists like Elizabeth Warren. They're not come here and have a discussion about racism. That's right, you're the racist, boy.
Racist.
Look at the racist.
No, police, now.
Stop. Get me right in the back. I want to file charges on it.
Sit down on the floor. I'm okay. I'm fine. Drop your umbrella, sir.
Go yell at the guy that threw the punch. That's racism, right there. Right, you're the racist. That's what you guys do.
Violent left! Violent liberal!
The liberal fascist. You don't know what racism is. Look at you. You've never experienced it.
White privilege is
White privilege, living in Barrington, eating your organic food while Elizabeth Warren poisons everyone else, singing your stupid bloody song. Wake up, America.
I was just hit in the face with a guy when I called him a racist. That's what's going on, guys. This is how these white privileged white supremacists react.
What you just witnessed is how you white supremacists react when you don't want to hear the truth from a dark-skinned Indian guy, the same guy you claim you want to help.
Now, the man that assaulted Mr. Ayyadurai was there attending the town hall. Obviously, he had his liberal T-shirt with Democrat emblazoned across the back, and I'm sure on his car he probably drove a hybrid, had an "I'm with her" bumper sticker, and all of that good stuff. Now, he was actually, once the cops let him go, he actually was allowed back into Elizabeth Warren's town hall. So he was not barred from that event, even though he had actually just assaulted a political opponent, Elizabeth Warren's political opponent, outside of the venue. Begs the question, did Elizabeth Warren know that he had assaulted Dr. Ayyadurai? Probably not, but even still, if this was the other way around, if a Republican was hosting a town hall and one of the Republican supporters had assaulted a Democrat outside, for a fact that the media would immediately be screaming about how the Republican knew and this was a coordinated attack on a political opponent, and blah, 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 blah. So, well, let's just go ahead and do that speculation on our end. Why don't we? Since the media would do that exact same thing. Now, what is the aftermath of this event? What happened after this? You saw the man assault Dr. Ayyadurai. You saw the cops arrived and took him away. You saw that older lady, good for her tackling this guy and beating the crap out of him. I mean, she had to be literally pulled off of this guy, and then the cops showed up. I mean, I'm good for her, actually defending her candidate and putting her body on the line. I mean, there's no telling what this guy could have done to her. But anyway, so you might be looking at the video and you might be thinking, it doesn't look like it was that bad. He stuck around. He kept screaming slogans at the protesters. But Ayyadurai actually did suffer some significant injuries to his face. He ended up with a busted lip. He ended up with some chipped teeth, and he also ended up with trauma to one of his front teeth. Now, anybody who's ever had any sort of dental problems or chipped teeth or anything like that, that can be extremely difficult and expensive to fix, by the way. So, this was not just a little smack to the face that didn't cause any damage. No, this caused some real harm to Dr. Ayyadurai. I mean, he's speaking as somebody who has had this kind of dental work done. He's going to be in for some frustration, and he's going to be in for a couple of fairly painful dental appointments and maybe even some operations. We'll have to see how badly his teeth were damaged, really. Now, the mainstream media has not touched this story at all. You won't find any of this reported in the likes of CNN or MSNBC or ABC or anybody like that. In fact, the only places that I've seen this story reported have been on the right, right-wing blogs. American Mirror actually broke the story, and then Breitbart picked it up when CNN's Chris Cuomo basically dismissed it and refused to report on it. He saw the tweet, he quoted it, and Chris Cuomo said, "Is the man pushing the megaphone into his face the punch in the face, or is there something else we don't see?" Now, this is, of course, in reference to the fact that when Ayyadurai tweeted out this video, he put in the caption that said he was punched in the face, essentially, which is basically what happened. He was hit in the face with a megaphone. You could call that a punch to the face. The guy kind of punched the megaphone a little bit, so why not? Why quibble over words? Of course, this was not good enough for Chris Cuomo, the esteemed anchor at CNN, and he did not want to touch it because, well, he wasn't sure exactly what happened, apparently, even though from the video, it's extremely clear what happened. Now, Ayyadurai actually tweeted to Chris Cuomo and said, "Chris, if you want to know what happened, why don't you ask me instead of speculating? I was the one who was bleeding after he smashed the megaphone into my face. I'll come on and we can have a real discussion about racism in America. My cell is," and then he gives his cell phone number and says, "Call me." Chris Cuomo, as of right now, has not responded to that. That was on Monday, I believe it was, when he did that. So, mainstream media is not touching this at all. And why? Well, it's because it just showcases the ridiculous insanity that has gripped the left ever since the election of President Trump to the presidency of the United States. I mean, just go back and watch that video again if you need any further proof of how insane the left has become. Here they are. This guy is he's haranguing the leftists on the other side of the street. He's shouting at them. He's one could argue that he was antagonizing him, but this is no worse than anything that the left has ever done to any sort of Trump supporter or anybody on the right, and he was staying on his side of the street. He was on the sidewalk. He was not crossing the street to physically confront the protesters or anything like that. He was just yelling at them with a megaphone. And then, he gets assaulted. That right there, it just shows that the left does not want any sort of challenge, any sort of discussion, or anything like that. They could have that guy could have calmly walked over to him, and they could have had a real discussion. I have a feeling that, I don't know Dr. Ayyadurai, but I have a feeling that Dr. Ayyadurai would have probably engaged this man in a constructive discussion if that's what he had tried to do. I don't think he would have he would have continued to yell through his megaphone in his face. I think he probably would have sat down and engaged him. But, the left doesn't want that. They don't want their ideas challenged at all. They want to be the only voice. And the fact that this guy right here, this brown guy, by the way, was challenging them directly, that just stuck in this guy's craw and triggered the latent racism that we see in leftists whenever they're reacting to any person of color on the right. And Ayyadurai was pointing this out as well. You can hear the protesters or leftists rather, the town hall attendees, that you can hear them yelling at him about how he's got white privilege and all that sort of stuff. And this guy, there is no way you could mistake Dr. Ayyadurai for a white person. Absolutely no way. I mean, he's very obviously Indian, and they're saying he has white privilege. Well, that's just complete incoherent nonsense. And it's showcasing, the racism of the left. And Ayyadurai was pointing this out, and I think that right there is what triggered a lot of this. He was talking about about the left's racism, and that just struck in. That just stuck in their craw, and that's what caused them to react as they did. Now, a final thought on this for now. I'm going to keep an eye on this story, and we'll see if anything else develops. But my final thought on this is, what happens when this escalates? What happens when the violence on the left escalates? I've said that, I've asked this question multiple times before, in my podcasts and in my writings. You can go back to any of my videos on the violence of the left, and you'll hear me asking that question. But this sort of thing is increasingly becoming commonplace on the left. You could argue that it started back in the Bush administration, with the whole Bush-Hitler thing, but even back then, I was fairly politically active. Well, not fairly politically active, but I was starting to become politically active back then. And I don't remember the level of violence on the left that we see today. Maybe I wasn't woke enough. Maybe I wasn't red pilled or whatever. Maybe I just didn't see it. But I don't remember I don't remember, for example, during the 2004 election, I don't remember leftists chasing down Bush supporters in the streets and beating the crap out of them. I don't remember doing that, or I don't remember seeing that at all. I don't remember seeing what we saw in Chicago in 2016 in 2000. I don't remember seeing what we saw in San Jose in 2016, in 2004. Again, maybe I missed it. I'm sure if I did, somebody out there will go ahead and provide a link in the comment section and helpfully disabuse me of my innocence. But I don't remember seeing that. But this is where we are today. The left has become, ever since Trump announced his candidacy, but they have become completely unhinged. They have become more and more violent, and it's only gotten worse as Trump ascended to the presidency, and as they realize that he's not going anywhere for at least another 2 years, probably another 6 years when he wins his second term in 2020. I've said this before, and I'll say it again, but I think the 2018 midterm season coming up in just a few short months, we are going to see more and more violence in that season. Probably not going to be on the same level of 2016. Might be it might be, it definitely won't be worse than 2016 because it's a midterm election and Democrats have deluded themselves into thinking that they are actually going to win it when all the evidence is saying, no, you're probably not going to win very much, if anything at all. But I think 2020 is where we're going to see the violence really ramp up. You know, Donald Trump is going to be running for re-election. He's going to be extremely strong. He's going to have a strong economy if everything keeps going the way it is. He's going to have a lot of foreign policy successes. He's going to have at least 2 Supreme Court picks when Kavanaugh gets confirmed, potentially 3, maybe even 4, because Ginsburg and Breyer are up there in years, and Ginsburg, quite frankly, is probably going to die at any moment. So we'll see what that happens. But we are going to see more and more of this type of violence. We are going to see more and more candidates on the right being assaulted by leftists in this 2018 election season. We're going to see it a lot more in 2020, and I don't know how we can stop that. Hey guys, thanks so much for listening. Let me know what you think about all this in the comment section below. Do you think the 2018 midterm season is going to be as bad as 2016? Is it going to be worse than 2016? Is it not going to be anywhere near the level of 2016? What do you think is going to happen in 2020? Let me know in the comments section below. As always, if you liked what you heard, leave a like and subscribe to my channel. Both of those things help me out quite a bit. If you want to donate, hit that green icon in the bottom right of the player, or click on my PayPal link to donate to either one of those locations, and I will see you all next time.